And today I'm going to be recapping and reviewing and going over the Dragon Knight Healer build, which I like to call A.K.A. the Dragon Priest. Okay. Um, First off, I'll just hop off my mount here. We're just going to go over the skills, the stats, pretty much everything. If you have any questions. First thing, what we want to go ahead and do, I'm going to add, eat my food buff, so we can get our stats up. Okay, and we're going to take a look at our character sheet. Okay, with this build, currently we're sitting at over 40k max magicka, and on staff side around 18.7 maximum health. I can go ahead and divert a couple of my attribute points because, as you see, I'm all magicka to offset the difference. When it comes to the boon, I'm running the ritual that gives me more healing capabilities. Now, if you are on a couple of things, I'm just going to cover this just to get this out of the way. Okay, the only person who really doesn't benefit from the ritual that much as a healer is the Nightblade healer. Why? Because the Nightblade healer deals damage through funnel and siphon abilities to heal. The apprentice optimizes that for the Nightblade healer. It does not work as efficiently with the other healing classes. The ritual is better for Templars, the Dragon Knights, sorcerers. It depends what you do. So I want to cover that. Also, for God's sakes, if you're a flipping healer, do not wear Julianos. That is the most noobish thing you could flipping do. Do not do that. Okay? That's stupidity. Okay? It doesn't have a regen. Okay? And half your heals are hots if you're not a Nightblade. Nightblades funnel and siphon a lot, and they crit, and once again, their healing is based on their damage. I was in a trial yesterday. I had some flipping idiot who's like, you should get Spell Power Cure. And I was on my Nightblade healer. And I'm like, why would the flip would I want Spell Power Cure on a Nightblade? Dragon Knight, yes. Templar, yes. Sorcerer, I would probably could even see Spell Power Cure. Nightblades, do not be fooled. If you are a Nightblade healer, the last set you want to run as a healing Nightblade is the Spell Power Cure. Yes, it benefits your party. It decreases your healing capabilities. The more you crit as a Nightblade on a funnel, the more you're healing. End of subject, end of conversation. It's there. It's done. It's said. I run 3 different healers. I think I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so please, if you're a Nightblade healer, do not wear the Spell Power Cure, and if you are any other healing type, please do not wear Julianos. Okay, as far as gear here, we are set up for trial runs. Now I can do the switch I run 5/5 switch on all of my healers. I do not wear a monster set because monster sets will decrease my healing capability between 5 to 8%. That's even if I decide to utilize Bogadam. Okay, now you can use Trinamac Valor. Trinamac Valor does have a nice proc effect. Unfortunately, once again, you're giving up hard numbers for a proc effect. Okay, once again, we're just going to cover it. But when we take a look at the gear, we run a 5/5 switch between Kaggers and the Eyes of Mara. The reason being, Eyes of Mara reduces the cost of our restoration staff abilities. On the resto staff, we go with all of our primary resto staff abilities. Also, I had the same idiot yesterday who was unaware that he's like, well, you do a lot of heavy attacks with your staff. And I'm like, yeah, because 30% of the damage I'm causing with the staff heals my party members. He's like, no, it's a self-heal. And I'm like, no, check the passive. Trust me, people, it does. You can check the passive. If you want me to go into it, I will. But let me cover this first. Okay, so we have Nirnholm as the weapon, because why? It increases spell power, increasing our healing. Okay? And we go sword and board. You can do dual wield, and if you wanted to put an urn horn, you could get a little bit extra healing off of it. But I opt for the shield because it balances out my magicka, especially because I don't run inner light on the back bar. Plus, it gives me a deflection capability, so when I'm actually rezzing or doing anything, I have more defense. Okay, so as you can see, on the staff side, we have 3 Kaggers and we have the 5 Maras. Okay, and when I switch to the shield side, we have the 5 Kaggers and the 4 Maras. Okay? Now, once again, if I'm not running a trial, I will replace the Kaggers with the Seducers. Why? Because it's reducing the cost. As a trial Dragon Knight healer, you are primarily not as concerned with regen as much as you are in a 4-man. The reason being because you are ideally a tank healer, because this mitigates up to 30% of the damage. Now, if you have a Dragon Knight tank, please cover what if he's using Magma Shell. If he is, you can switch off and use the Warhorn. Now, when we look at our skills on shield, we have Igneous Weapon. This is kind of important because it buffs us and our party members. Also, if the party members are using builders with major sorcery or major brutality, they can go ahead and opt to remove that because they're getting this buff and putting a different damage type ability, which would, basically increase their DPS, because usually builders have low-end DPS markers. So once again, you can kind of cover that before your trial run. Also, we have Igneous Shield. No brainer, this is the core of the Dragon Knight healer, because what it does is it mitigates damage with the shield and also gives us major mending, which increases our healing by 25% for 6 seconds. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you have a duration of 7.2, but we have to keep this up for 6 seconds because we don't want major mending to drop. So throughout our rotation, we do reapply quite frequently. Obsidian Shard. Obsidian Shard is a great heal because what it does, not only does it a heal, but if you have healers in the mobs, you can go ahead, hit them with this. It'll give them a stunning effect and actually stop them from healing. On regular dungeon runs, we use Draw Essence. It's a self-heal, AoE damage, and it also returns 10% of the magicka cost, which I find very useful. I do replace this with Circle of Protection or Ring of Preservation, when I'm in the trial run. So that's the only ability that actually gets slotted out if I'm in a trial. We also use Cauterize. Cauterize is great because even when we activate it and switch it to the bar, once it's activated, it is in effect. So great healing capability, and once again, this is a Dragon Knight and the Magma Shell. When we switch over to the staff bar, now this is kind of same similar layout of what I utilize with majority of my healers. Healing Ward, if you are a healer not using Healing Ward, I don't know what you're doing, honestly. This is great because it mitigates damage, absorbs, and heals up to 300% depending on the severity of the target's wounds. This is huge. This is a massive heal. It's very effective, especially during Lord Warden when you're in Imperial Prison. It will save you when he does that bombardment if the tank can't get in between the line of fire. Okay, Healing Springs, no brainer. You at least have to have one healer with Healing Springs, but when you're running the Dragon Knight healer, you can actually have 2 healers with it, because the other healer can primarily, unless you're stacked, if you're stacking, you don't need it, both of them with it. But let's say you're in Maul and you're actually having to pull a boss from mobs, this is where it comes in handy, because the other healer can pop the springs on the party while you can pretty much focus on popping healing springs on the tank. Even though you're not going to get as much of a regen because it's only you and the tank within that vicinity, it does come in handy because it's also applying the heal tick. So very, very important. Combat prayers. You only need one healer in your party running combat prayers. If somebody has it, you can use the other morph. I use it because when I'm in dungeons, it also buffs. Mutagen, great heal, and also has a cleanse to it. Okay. Inner light, maximize magicka, increasing our healing, and we use reviving barrier that increases healing, and also with a passive will give us a regen boost. Okay. When we take a look at Earth and Heart, and Earth and Heart is the big important aspect when you're taking a look at the Dragon Knight healer, because we want to increase the duration of the abilities. We also restore health, magicka, and stamina. 70% of the ultimate's cost when we use an ultimate. And also we have Mountain Blessing, which is really great because this applies another buff to our party members by activating, you know, our Igneous Shield. Okay? And of course, Helping Hands. This restores stamina. That's where Ring of Preservation comes in handy, because when we activate the shield, we get the stamina return, and we can keep reapplying Ring of Preservation. Okay? Pretty much how we roll. Now, if you do have Spell Power Cure as a Dragon Knight, you can use that set. Now, as once again I like to say, Night Blades, the optimal set that's in contrast to Spell Power Cure for Night Blades to maximize their healing, believe it or not, would be the Combat's Physician, which is Imperial Prison. I do have two pieces. I'm having a hard time getting that set because one, is hard to get a group that can do Imperial Prison. Two, getting the right traits for the gear is kind of hard to come by. So unless you can find a good grind group that's continuously willing to run it, it's a very hard set to acquire. Okay, so it's pretty much it. We are Undaunted. We do not run 7 of any type, and I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Mystic, you have a robe. The reason being because my pants are my heavy, as you can see, and my waist is my medium. Okay? And that's pretty much about it. We're going to go ahead and do hopefully a random queue. Last time I tried to do this, it didn't bode so well. So let's see if I can just kind of, well, could go specific, but I like randoms. I just feel like if you can pretty much get a good random, you're in. Okay, Darkshade Caverns. This isn't going to be too bad. Now, jump failed. Instance is full. Well, that means they had a terrible healer. So I'm going to have to wait a second here. Now, I'm actually not wanting to be in a group chat. Okay, which is fine. I'm not. Okay. So basically what I want to do here is to show you the capability of the Dragon Knight healer and what we can do. Now, PC players, once again, keep in mind, I do play on console, and unfortunately, I have to deal with a lot of ignorant players who believe Templars are the only healers. They just don't know any better. You know, it's unfortunate, but it's true. Okay? And devs, keep up the good job, man. You guys, you know, I don't complain when it comes to the capability of all the classes and what they're capable of doing. I more than anybody know that you guys put in the work, making sure every class is viable to play every role. So, great job, devs. Alright. I don't know any of these guys, I don't think. No, I do not. But I'm cool with it. Okay. Now the first thing I do is go through my shield rotation for the most part. You might see me pop the shield and stuff, but I definitely always want to keep the mitigating effects up. Magma Shell works out great here because not only does it mitigate, but it deals damage to a surrounding mob. So me, it works. I like it a lot. And once again, people, if you are a DPS, now, okay, another thing I want to cover, tanks. I don't care. I don't really care if you are going for a resistance build. If you have less than, I cover 40k on all my tank builds, on every one of them. So I don't know who says, oh, you know, I have a resistance build. I don't really care if you have a resistance build. Anything under, I don't know, 35k, kind of pointless. If you're walking into a dungeon under that, you're not a tank. All right, and I'm just gonna say that for a fact. And that's another thing, PC players. I mean, I know you guys try to run without tanks as well, but it's really bad on tanks. We have to deal with it every day, like people queuing up as tanks in beds that you should have a tank. Dead. Oh, that's why we don't have a tank. Wow. Why is that first other? Now, unfortunately, bosses are immune to the effect of obsidian shard. Okay, so you will not be able to stun or break a boss's healing effect. So, don't think that's going to be the case. It's funny that we were just mentioning the DPS tank because here we don't have a tank. Usually tanks have shields. But whatever. It's an everyday occurrence in my world, people. Every day I deal with it. Okay? Which is fine. I mean, it's normal. I don't really care if I have a tank specifically. Now, if I was in a vet, I will actually not heal a party member without a tank. I don't care what them do. The devs make tank rolls for a reason. And for me, as a healer, I don't like to pick up extra aggro because I'm already picking up aggro as a healer. Okay? Heals will generate aggro. And it comes in handy for me to have a tank. Okay? So if I don't have a tank, and you guys queue as a tank in a vet, and I drop, sorry, but not sorry. You guys, and you'll find a lot of healers that do that. We do not appreciate that shit. You're a dime a dozen. We're not. You're expendable. Healers, not so much. Now, good DPS is hard to come by. I will admit that. But doesn't mean I'm willing to sacrifice a tank for a DPS. Not gonna happen. Down a little bit. Anyways. Sometimes I like to definitely go through my rotation a lot. Now, the one bad thing about Kaggers versus Seducers is we definitely are lacking the regen. I really do like the Seducers on a lot of my builds. Especially typically in this, but I definitely want to show, you know, the sets, how we're doing and everything. And once again, guys, just recap, please, if you're going to be a healer, you know, Nightblades can pull off Julianas because they're critting, but you're going to need the Seducers. So you're going to do a 5-5 switch between Seducers and Julianas, and the only reason being you're going to have Julianas on the Siphon side, not Resto side, because you're going to use the crit capability to increase your Siphon abilities, which will increase the healing effect. On Resto, you'll use Seducers. But keep in mind, the best set is not Spell Power Cure for the Nightblade, and if you're another healer, please do not wear Julianas. I understand your solo content, make a different set of gear if you can, because it really diminishes your healing capability, because the most important aspect of most healing builds is regen. Okay, and if you ever look at most of the sets that they make for healers in this game, I don't care if it's a drop or whatever, typically it has some sort of a regen stat on it. Okay? And also, typically, our healers do not res in trials. Sorry, DPS, that's your problem. The reason being is if healers are resing, guess what they're not doing? Healing. If they're not healing, typically that means people are flipping dying. But, hey man, it's your trial. Have at it. Now once again, keep in mind guys, this is not a Templar. This is the Dragon Knight. Okay? And I like it. I love what Elder Scrolls does in this game. Like I said, this is why it's one of my favorite. We have craftable gear that's viable in endgame. We have every class capable of playing every role. They try to balance it out as best as they can, and it's pretty effective, to be honest with you. You know, there are some differences between Stam and Magicka builds, but one thing I have found is if they have a strong suit in one area, they usually have a weaker suit in another. So that kind of does give the game, the classes, their balance. Now, it also stays true to the aspect of Elder Scrolls, and they like to keep a sort of a semi-sandbox approach, which is another thing. I fell in love with this game with Morrowind. I say that repeatedly, and one of the reasons I continue to play, because they make the game so flexible, it's not one-dimensional. When we take a look at champions, and I will go over champions after this run, I want to also tell you players to keep in mind that this is not a linear system. It may seem linear, but it's not. It's diminishing. So you definitely want to keep that in mind when you're allocating your CP. I mean, if I'm not one to overstack, because I like to pick up extra passes and build a nice round effect to most of my builds. Now you guys can see where that crawler that will come into play in Dungeons. That's why I use it for me. But like I said, when I'm in trial, that usually gets replaced with ranged preservation or however you want to mark it or whatever. Typically, a lot of macro builds will kind of avoid that, but what I like to utilize that a little more. Now, I do want to say that the Dragon Knight healer does not necessarily replace the Templar. It accommodates it. From with Templar healers, if you run more than one Templar in your trial team, essentially what they're doing are stepping on each other's toes with their hots. Hots don't stack. Okay? I don't know what just killed that dude. It's this. I'm going shield side. I always want to go shield side on the res. When I'm going to res, interrupt it left and right. Wow, what's this gonna show? I don't even know what this dude's life at. It could be low. I don't know. You know, that's another thing, DPS. If you're doing bets, and for God's sake, if you're running that nasty ass bubble build, and you have under friggin', I'd say 18k, please stop that shit. Please stop. You look like idiots. And I know, like, certain players are like, push your healers. Hey, listen, if you get one-shotted, it's not the healer's fault. That's your stupid fault because you're trying to cheat mechanics. Okay? So, please, let's be a little realistic here. And another, question comes to mind. How much DPS are you doing when you're fucking dead? Okay, you're not doing much DPS. So, no matter how much more DPS you're... Oh, look how much DPS I'm doing now because I only have 16k and I'm stacking more Magicka. Who gives a shit? You're dead half the time. You're not dealing half the damage you should be dealing. Fucking idiots. So just stat accordingly. The forums is a great resource. I appreciate anybody who watches the video. I always want to help out players. That's why I do these. But at the same time, go to the forums, man. Those players know what they're talking about. If there's any doubt in my mind or anything, I will go to the forums before I'll ever want to admit. Okay? I mean, seriously, people, those players will, you'll find a lot of hardcore players. You'll find, some ignorant trolls and whatever have you. I mean, that's typical. This is an MMO. Let's be realistic. But there are certain players out there, they will break everything down to you. They will go over all your gear options, stat options, what you should be looking for, and that's the kind of resource tool you need. The only thing I really don't like about the forums, I can't even access the forums to post because the email confirmation is always messed up because I'm on a PlayStation. So Elder Scrolls could have a better forum system for accessibility. I think for players who don't have the game, because unless you have the game, you can't even access it. And I think that's kind of a bad thing because you want to promote the gameplay, and that's a good marketing tool. Is a lot of times when players are interested in games, they'll go to the forums first. They want to be able to read, they want to post, they want to ask questions. So, ZeniMax, if you guys are listening, you guys might want to take note on that. Okay, you might want to open up the forums because, marketing, that's part of your free marketing. Basically, it goes hand in hand. Oh, once again, what do I know? Okay, well, like I said, you're always going to see me most encounters go through that. I definitely want to keep the base up. That slips at any time. I'm losing a significant amount of healing, guys. And this is another thing I like to do, and this is why I like to do it so much, is I actually love to go through these builds and then do these videos. A lot of times when you see videos on builds, they just don't want to go through it, like literally like show it being utilized. And to me, that becomes kind of, not productive. Because even though you might tell players, this is what gear you want, this is why you might want to plot it, they're really not getting a gist for how to play the role more effectively. Now, like I said, I had some idiot yesterday and like, you leave a lot. Yes, I leave a lot. I'm healing as I'm leaving. The death put it in there, it keeps my Magicka up, and not only that, I'm dealing damage. Not as much, but seriously, people. I mean, and also, if you are a healer trying to deal damage and doing this hybrid crap, now I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, Nightblades, you know, deal damage and heal. Well, they're dealing damage to heal, right? If you're slotting in other abilities and saying, oh, you know, I don't need healing ward, I'd rather have my Jesus beam, then you're a sucky ass healer. Okay? Primary role to a healer is healing and utilities, or buffs and such. Okay, yes, I understand the Knife Blade deals a considerable amount of damage to heal. I get it. But it doesn't mean that every role should be optimized or utilized in such a way. We have also certain players who want to say, oh, it's all about the damage. It's all about the damage. You only need like this, this, and that. Breath of Life, that's why Breath of Life got nerfed, people. Because it was just being spammed. Constantly. There was no other heals applied. It just kept getting spammed. And devs did not like that, okay? To be honest with you, I'm glad they nerfed it. Not because I don't like the Templar healers. I like the Templar healers. But when you are not using your role to its full potential, that's a slap in the face for the devs. I mean, come on, people. And you guys might say, well, it's the devs' fault for making the ability so OP. Well, they rectify it, don't they? And then you guys want to cry about it later? I don't think so. Once again, I always way far. I mean, I understand it's one out ball. I guess that's not his fault entirely. Another problem with not having a tank. Boss just run rampant. I definitely imagine this is the first boss was down. I imagine they just got a bad healer. And it's kind of funny because it doesn't matter what type of healer you are. You can be Templar, you can be Dragon, you can be Nightblade, you can be a Sorcerer. There can be bad healers in any scenario, guys. It doesn't matter. Bad Templars and bad Nightblades and Sorcerers, because it's kind of funny because when somebody gets a bad Sorcerer healer, it ruins them. It's like, oh no, Sorcerers cannot heal. I've tried it, they suck. They've had 1 or 2 bad experiences. It doesn't mean the class is incapable of healing, okay? I assure you that's not the case. That's not what the devs do. So please get that out of your mindset. you guys gotta understand, for console players, the PC version of this is essentially the same game. Same, nothing's changed. The only difference of it is the players are quite aware of all the capabilities, where unfortunately as console players we're still struggling to find our way. So looks good. Hopefully everybody's back. It makes my job easier. Never goes that way. Draw Essence is a really nice self-heal in these scenarios, guys, because if you don't have a tank, you're going to pull a lot of aggro, especially with mobs. Draw Essence will save your ass. Okay. Now, I'm kind of curious on seeing how well we do with the spin cycle. Once again, I don't know what people's lives are. Let's take a look. V17. He's 29. I guess he's built like a tank. Pretty nice. It's kind of like a hybrid. Now, it's kind of important here, people. A lot of DPS will fail miserably to get these down. And if that happens, you're kind of hit. Yep, then roll out. Stop that roll out. I tried to get over to him. Glad he's doing this. Now as you guys can see that little floating ball, that's my cauterized, even on the fast side it works. Is failing epically. It's gonna be a long fight, guys. Nothing you can do if they don't know the mechanics. See, I had DPS still over, you know, now one caught on. around him, interrupting his healing effect. Now that usually only works like once, so use it wisely. It works. Not just full of shit. Well, I guess I am full of shit because most of these fucking retards, I don't know what I'm talking about. I beg to differ, but whatever. Come on, DPS. Oh, nice. Look at that. No, no, no. For some reason I lagged up there. Oh, get us up, stop DPS. Yes. Alright. Good job. Once again, if we had a tank, things would be slightly different. Not really on this fight, actually, I should say that. Because this dude actually kind of does do some random stuff, even with the tank, actually, now that I think about it. There we go. We're going to hit with the barrier. Alright. We're in full recovery mode. DPS did awesome there. Good job, guys. Good job. Alrighty. So we had one little slip here. Anyways, you guys see the viability of the build. And once again, you can die in any scenario. It can happen. So, I mean, even if you have full gold gear, you can pretty much get killed in a lot of scenarios. Just simple ones like that. Mechanics can kill you. So, and when we go over the champion points, and I'll go over this real quick here. Our main focus over here is the Apprentice. We have 120 into it. We pick up Arcane Well. Arcane Well is kind of great because if we deal any damage and that target dies, it will restore 4,037 magic up to 3 allies. Also, with the Blessed, we're increasing the effectiveness of healing done by 15%. I know a lot of people and healers want to go ahead and put 100 points into this. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't. We take away from the other abilities because with Spell Erosion, that's affecting staff penetration. Because staff deals magic damage, so spell penetration goes hand in hand. Because once again, 30% of that damage is healing our party members. Also, once again, we want to increase that magic damage. And of course, our instant heals and weapon, our instant heals can crit. So we want to go ahead with this ability right here, which is Elfborn. And when we take a look at it, I got 30 points in the Staff Expert. Once again, the more damage the staff does, the more it's essentially healing. And of course, Precise Strikes, because it increases damage and healing dealt by weapon criticals. Okay, so you guys can kind of see where we're going at. Also, as the Dragon Knight healer, this becomes your biggest friend here is Bastion. Bastion, we have up to, and you see we have 53 points into it with only 16%. To get 25%, we have to put 100. And if I do that, then I'm losing out on my resistances. And I don't want to do that, because what's the point of being a healer, even if you can heal yourself, if you have no resistance? So we definitely want to pick up as much resistance as possible, because it becomes effective in our builds. Also, we do want to reduce magic cost of spells. Now I can allocate some more points into that, but I got 10% tenacity because I do heavy attacks, so I want that return. I also have a natural magical recovery with the CP of 11%, and being a healer, I also opt for the health recovery, because last thing I want to do is be the first to drop in any scenario. So I could allocate some more points from healthy over between Arcanist and Magician if it's a necessity. So you can kind of play with this one a little bit if you need to. Tumbling I always take, because I like reducing the dodge roll cost, and break free, because if you get stunned and all of a sudden you used all of your resources in a trial, throwing down Ring of Preservation, this comes in handy. Okay, so you're reducing that cost. For anybody, wow, see now, it's what happens when all of a sudden, I didn't even know what was going on. See, I'm not paying attention, but that's funny, actually. I guess I should go over and help these guys. We had one person drop, but I think they got to do the turn in. I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. So, but, you know, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead, post below. I will try to get to them in a timely fashion. I do want to thank everybody for watching. If once again and always, thank you, and have a nice day. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna... I don't know if it's off. As a healer. Grab your partner, grab your partner, do-si-do. Fucking dancing man. He says I can't do the robot, or the swimmer, is what it should be called. Dance craze, sweeping the nation, the swimmer. not Maelstrom quality, but like. I wouldn't take this build into Maelstrom, that's for sure. Need some more damage there. Residue, this thing will just chop me up if I try to do that. Finish him. Okay. He's done. Hopefully he can turn in his quest. Everything's gravy. I do want to thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, post below. If you liked the video, please feel free to subscribe. I want to thank you all, and once again and always, have a nice day.